On a humid summer evening in 1983, 12-year-old Billy Cobb vanished from the quiet streets of Oakhaven, Iowa. This was a town where children chased ice cream trucks, neighbors tended each other's crops, and secrets were guarded as fiercely as family heirlooms. The last words Billy ever spoke, trembling and urgent through a crackling 911 line, would echo for decades. "He's in the cornfield, the same red boots, please hurry." The call was cut off. The silence that followed was not just the absence of a child, but the birth of a secret that would haunt every adult in Oakhaven for 40 years. Oakhaven was more than a dot on the map. It was a community woven tightly by tradition, church pews, and the watchful gaze of Mayor Hank Vogel. Hank was the archetype of small-town respectability. Mayor, football coach, owner of the local auto shop, and the man who handed Billy his first paycheck for washing cars. The town trusted Hank the way a child trusts a parent. But beneath the warm glow of porch lights and Sunday sermons, Oakhaven harbored a rule darker than any storm cloud. What happens here stays here. When Billy didn't come home for dinner that August night, his mother's certainty was immediate and visceral. Her son never missed a meal. She called the sheriff, but Hank was quick to offer a story. Billy had left the shop at 5, he said, probably wandered off. The sheriff, Sheriff Hayes, nodded along. In Oakhaven, the mayor's word was gospel. But Detective Mike Riley, new to town and unschooled in its unwritten codes, saw more than a missing child. He found Billy's baseball glove, dusted and damp, near the edge of Hank's sprawling cornfield. Hank's tire tracks were fresh in the mud, his boots, those infamous red work boots, streaked with straw and dirt that matched the field. Riley's questions were met with rehearsed answers. The baker claimed Hank was buying rolls at 5:15. The pastor swore he saw Hank at Bible study. Even Billy's best friend's mother whispered that Billy ran off with the carnival that passed through the week before. But the clues stacked up. Hank's shop books showed no sales that day. 3 farmers who'd never fixed a fence before suddenly appeared near the cornfield at sunset. Riley's instincts sharpened when he found Lena Cobb, Billy's 8-year-old sister, trembling in her treehouse. She had seen everything: the struggle in the corn, Billy's desperate cries, Hank's tire iron flashing in the dusk, and the red boots scuffed in panic. Her testimony was clear, her fear palpable. But Lena's parents, pressured and terrified, retracted her account. Hank held not just the town's respect, but its economic lifeline: mortgages, jobs, and the promise of stability. The cost of truth was ruin. The investigation stalled. Hank's boots were allegedly black, not red that day. His laundry was dry cleaned for the first time in 20 years, the night Billy died. But every adult in Oakhaven, from the sheriff to the schoolteacher, closed ranks. The price of honesty was simply too high. The case went cold, Billy's grave grew moss, and Oakhaven returned to its routines, haunted but silent. Years passed. Hank died in 2010, eulogized as a pillar of the community. Lena grew up, her nightmares unspoken, until her own death in 2020. Oakhaven's secret seemed destined to die with them, but fate, or perhaps justice, would not be denied. In 2023, a flood tore through St. Mary's Lutheran Church during renovations. Amid the soggy debris was a box marked Lena Cobb's confirmation gifts. Inside, preserved by luck and sorrow, was Lena's diary. The entries were harrowing. She wrote of seeing Hank's ghost in the cornfields, of her mother's dying confession that Hank had paid off the sheriff, that their silence was bought to save the farm. Lena's words were the fracture that split the wall of complicity. Forensic experts pored over the diary, and a renewed investigation led to Hank's barn, where his tire iron lay forgotten. DNA analysis revealed traces that matched the mud found on Billy's shirt, the final, irrefutable link tying Hank to Billy's murder. The courtroom was silent as the evidence mounted. The jury's verdict was swift. Hank's estate was ordered to pay Billy's family $2.1 million in damages, a sum that could never ransom the years lost, but stood as a public reckoning. Yet justice was bittersweet. The true killer was long dead, and the town's complicity was exposed for all to see. Oakhaven began to unravel. Families packed up and left, storefronts shuttered, the church closed its doors. At Hank's grave, someone spray-painted, "You knew." Only Martha, Hank's elderly sister, stepped forward with a confession. She had seen Hank wash those boots, urged her husband to lie, and swallowed guilt every Sunday at church, as she faced Billy's mother. Her words, etched in pain and regret, became a final benediction for a town that had mistaken silence for loyalty. In the aftermath, Billy's surviving family founded Break the Silence, a nonprofit dedicated to supporting victims of child abuse and domestic violence. The organization now provides safe spaces, healing resources, and a platform for survivors to share their stories. Their work, highlighted in recent advocacy efforts like the Through the Eyes of Survivors podcast, stands as a living memorial to Billy and a call to action for communities everywhere. The legacy of Oakhaven is a lesson written in heartbreak and hope. Silence, far from being a shield, is the weapon by which injustice thrives. Economic coercion, fear of losing livelihoods, and the preservation of a false peace can corrupt even the closest of communities. The release of the documentary has sparked new conversations about the imperative to break the silence, to support organizations like Break the Silence, and to challenge the systems that enable abuse to endure. Today, children at Billy Cobb's grave leave baseballs instead of flowers, a tribute to innocence lost and truth reclaimed. The courage to speak, to risk comfort for justice, remains the brightest legacy of all. The diary's ashes may drift on a summer breeze, but its message endures. The truth lives in the voices of those willing to say, "I saw it." In every town, in every life, the choice is ours. Will we speak, or will we let silence choose for us? As you reflect on Oakhaven's story, ask yourself, if you saw the red boots in the corn, what would you risk to tell the truth? The answer may shape not just your own life, but the future of every community longing for justice. They knew the killer was next door, but lied for 40 years. True crime documentary, Oakhaven Cover-Up. Thank you for subscribing to our channel.